Hello everybody and welcome to the IEP Live Learn Lunch. Really thrilled to have you here today. I'm really looking forward to this session brought to us by Andy from RNIB and our fifth in the Seeing Opportunities series, and today we're going to be looking at engaging with employers. So with no further ado, I'm going to pass you over to Andy, who's going to lead on today's session. And as he prepares his slides for us and we hand over that way, I would just like to remind you all that this is an interactive session. So I would really encourage you, if you can, to share your thoughts and questions in the chat box throughout the session, and I will make sure that Andy sees those. So over to you, Andy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It's good to be here again. Obviously, those of you who've been on the previous 4 seminars will be used to hearing from Heather. Heather's actually moving house just now, and although she had her Wi-Fi connected yesterday, it's still not working. That's probably no big surprise. So I'm happy to be here and pick up the mantle on this, the 5th of our series. We're talking about our engagement with employers. So we will be talking about today about what RNIB does to keep people in jobs, and the work we do with employers when it comes to the employment of people with sight loss. So I'm going to start with some interesting statistics. There are approximately 21,000 people who are registered blind or partially sighted that are currently working across the UK, so 21,000 people in jobs. And they're in quite a wide range of employment sectors. Unfortunately, though, that's only a quarter of the people of working age who could be in work. So you can get maybe a feel for the size of the issue for us here. Only 1 in 4 of our working age people are actually in jobs. And on top of that, the research we've done shows us that of those 1 in 4 who are in jobs, quite a significant number of them, again 1 in 4, left their last job because they either started to have sight issues or their sight deteriorated in some way. And when you look at a group of 50-year-olds, for example, about half of the people who develop sight loss leave their job. And that's unfortunate for us because quite a majority of people tell us that if they'd known about the support that was available, they would have been able to stay in their job. So it's quite a big challenge for us. And that's why our specialist employment team in RNIB works to try and retain people in job. We work with employers and we work with individuals to try and keep them there. In the last year, we're very proud to say that we helped 1,600 people who are blind or partially sighted, or whatever phrase they use. 1,600 people we helped stay in their jobs. So that might give you the scale of the challenge that's there for us and the amount of people that we are helping. We have, within this presentation, we have 3 short video clips, and in a moment I'm going to move on to the first one, because a question that we are often asked is, what jobs can blind people do? So a very short video clip, 2.5 minutes, is just coming up. Fingers crossed this works okay. And this was a video put together by people explaining what kind of jobs they do. So I'm going to try and run that now. Any problems, let me know.
Only 1 in 4 blind or partially sighted people of working age are in employment. We are a valuable, underutilised resource in the UK workforce. See what we can do.
I'm Chris Fawcett. I am currently working as a regulatory compliance manager for a global education company.
I'm Laura and I'm an occupational therapy assistant working in mental health.
My name is Nathan and I'm a client advice officer.
My name is Dan and I'm a graphic designer and 3D visualiser.
I'm the director of a corporate events company.
I'm the Chief Operations Officer for Lighthouse London.
I'm a Parliamentary and Public Affairs Manager.
I'm a gigging musician from London.
I advise the Scottish Government on transport accessibility.
I'm Director of Services at a national charity.
I'm the UK's only visually impaired ice hockey player.
I have a rare form of macular degeneration, which means for me that I have lots of blind patches in my field of vision.
I was born with an eye condition called Leber's congenital amaurosis, and for me what that means is that I have no useful vision at all.
A bleed in my brain caused 90% vision loss.
I'm registered as severely sight impaired.
I have advanced glaucoma and I have tunnel vision.
I have albinism, which means my vision is very blurry and I can't see detail.
I find myself a lot on stages with a keyboard and a MacBook and a screen reader.
All I need is a large monitor and to invert the colour on my screen.
I use text-to-speech software to help me do my job.
I use screen magnification software.
I use speech software on the computer and the inbuilt screen reader in my phone.
I use a pair of glasses that have a bioptic telescope.
I use a binocular like this for seeing things at distance.
I've taught over 1,000 children to roller skate.
I built my first computer in 2004.
I used to work for the civil service in Whitehall as a ministerial private secretary.
I'm an administrator for the civil service.
I'm a press officer.
The community development officer.
I'm a locally elected councillor in the London Borough of Brent, where I'm also cabinet member for housing and welfare reform.
I'm Scott and I'm a camera operator. I have extremely low vision in my left eye and I'm short-sighted in my right. And I made this film. See what we can do.
Take our Employment Accessibility Health Check to find out how inclusive your workplace is. Visit rnib.org.uk. RNIB. See differently.
Okay, so hopefully that technically worked okay. Does anyone have any comments so far or anything to say about the video?
So, Dalida, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Dalida, said that was very insightful and thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Well, the message I take from that job is blind people or partially sighted people are successful in quite a wide range of jobs, and the old-fashioned notion of the kind of jobs that blind people do is very much gone. Actually, some people still would like that, but to be honest, the majority of people feel that's a positive thing. So moving on, I mean, if someone recently experiences a change in their sight or a change in the work environment or a change of job, people often need help and support just to stay in that job. And it's common at that point to feel quite anxious and unsure of what to do at this point. And advice at that point we feel is crucial because it helps to keep people in the job. Obviously, we want to help as many people as we can in RNIB because we're very committed to the idea that sight loss shouldn't equal job loss. So that's the message we're trying to get out. Importantly, what can we do to help? So we help employees and we work with them to try and keep in their jobs, particularly if there's a specific difficulty around sight loss. But also at the same time, we provide a service to employers because often employers just don't know how best to support their employees. And we go about this by providing advice and practical solutions to employers and employees so that people are kept at work. This could include, for example, like advising people about use of technology or practical solutions in the workplace. It can be helping an employer to reach a decision about what's a reasonable adjustment. And as we obviously know, the Equality Act makes it a legal duty for employers to make reasonable adjustments. So that could be something to do with like assistive technology in a computer or changing duties within a role. So we're very much there to provide that in-between service so that an employer can reach an informed decision and a customer can find out what they're looking for or what they need. At the same time, we also work with employers to try and encourage positive and inclusive recruitment. And we're about to launch a new standard called Visibly Better for employers. It's a bit like the Disability Confident, except it's more specific, and that will be launched soon. And we'll be encouraging employers to have procedures in place to recruit people with sight loss, and also crucially to make those adjustments that are needed to retain people. Okay, I'm going to move on to my next slide at the moment. Now, we have a bit of a video. This is where I need Helen's help because this will probably go wrong if I try anything. But the question here is, what does an employer do if one of their employees is losing their sight or their sight is changing? There are a lot of skills, there's a lot of knowledge and experience they don't want to lose. So over to the video, which is about 4 minutes long.
I'm Heather Barbara and I'm the Employment Advisor for RNIB Scotland. Every year, many people are given devastating news that they're losing their sight. And for people of working age particularly, this is a huge thing because they fear that they're going to lose their jobs. This is not the case. It doesn't have to be that way. People can stay and work, and we're here to help.
My name's Mel Hanvey. I work for Riverside Housing, which is based in Irvine in Scotland. I love my job, I love the company, and I feel that I give a good service to people. I'd been put on eye drops after suffering various conditions over the years, and unfortunately the eye drops had accelerated the condition further. I remember leaving the hospital and being told there was basically nothing that they could do for me. I remember getting the bus home and sitting on the bus thinking, what on earth am I going to do? I love my job, I don't want to leave it. So I went onto the internet to find out the RNIB site, and there was a contact address there, and I emailed it and basically put out a cry for help to see if I could stay in my job and what was out there for me. Well, the amazing thing was, by the time I got home, I'd had a reply from the RNIB.
Lots of people get in touch with us at RNIB when they're looking for advice about how they can stay and work. And for that reason, we've put together the Let's Work Together pack, and that's to help guide employers around the various steps that they can take to keep their employee in work.
I came into work and had a meeting with my manager, Dwayne, and just explained that I'd met Heather from the RNIB and told him of the pack that was being introduced. Dwayne himself has said he doesn't know what he would do without that information because he didn't know which way to go.
I wouldn't have guessed somebody with a sight impairment could have come back in and done this type of job. But now you've got screen magnification, you've got text speak. If a PDF document goes to her, she can hear that, she takes part in everything throughout the team. So I would not have guessed we could support somebody like that back into the workplace.
Mel came into our RNIB office to look at some software and some demos of different equipment that she might be able to use in work. And that showed her that, yeah, actually I can do my job. There's nothing to stop me. There's equipment here that can help me with that. We spoke about how she could have funding towards the cost of this so that it wouldn't cost her employer lots of money. I came to Mel's workplace, met with her manager, Dwayne, and we worked together on a plan to get Mel back into work.
I got bigger monitors, I had Zoom Tech software installed. Without it, I couldn't do the job, to be fair. Pardon the pun, but it's been an eye-opener. It really has.
Of course, having Marriott involved in this project was hugely important. Marriott's a major international employer and a name that people are familiar with. And this helped to show that this pack is actually workable out there in the real world.
I'm Claire Fisher. I work within the HR team for Marriott International. I'm based here at the Glasgow Marriott Hotel. I was delighted to be approached by the RNIB to be involved with the employer retention pack because often the adjustments that need to be made are quite minor, and they're very important to be able to offer employment opportunities to a diverse workforce, and to do what we can to reduce any barriers that might be there, however small.
Staying in work is hugely important to people. It's about our confidence, our independence. We're losing something and we don't need to lose our job as well. There's lots that can be done to prevent that happening.
The day I left the hospital, I was devastated at the thought of having to leave a job that I really love. And I was just sort of wondering what was going to happen with my future. But after contacting the RNIB, I realised there was hope for me, that I could continue working with the right equipment, and time has proven that that's been possible, so it's been fantastic.
The Let's Work Together Retention Resource Pack, developed by RNIB Scotland in partnership with Marriott Hotel Glasgow, is available to download at rnib.org.uk.
RNIB. See differently.
Okay, I'm just going to reload my slides here, if you bear with me for a moment. Does anyone have any comments on the content there?
Yes, we do. Catherine said, this is incredibly inspiring and such a great facility to support people in need and at difficult times as well as going forward.
Well, that's reassuring. I have to say that we can't promise to phone everyone back by the time that they finish their bus journey, unfortunately. Sometimes it takes us a bit longer. Any other chat in there, Helen? Or,
yeah, Jake says he agree. I did think that myself as well, that by the time you get home off your bus journey, that's setting the bar high is our Heather, isn't she? But no pressure, Andy, no pressure.
Yeah. Well, we can always remind Heather the next time that she doesn't manage to phone someone back by the time the bus journey ends that she's got to achieve.
We could, couldn't we? We have a couple more comments here, or we have one more comment here, some questions.
Okay.
To engage employers, do you reach out to a wide range of employers or target specifically those who have blind or sight impaired employees?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, both. RNIB as an organisation depends on a lot of sponsorships and corporate relationships. So some of the big companies, for example, I've got Kellogg's in my mind just now because Kellogg's have done some work on their packaging recently to make it easier to identify different types of products. A big company, and they're obviously interested in working with us in a specific area, but because we have that relationship, we're then able to work with them on other areas. Microsoft, for example, we've done a lot of work with accessibility, leading to some of the improvements in Office 365. This packages are much easier to make accessible now. So yeah, we use the power of being a big organisation and having big relationships to turn the agenda around when we want to talk about standards in the field of employment. At the same time, work is very much based on one-to-ones. If we've worked with 1,600 people last year to keep them in jobs, a lot of that work has been with the employers as well. So we're responding then rather than being strategic about it. So yeah, the answer is both really.
Excellent, thank you. So those are all the questions we have in at the moment.
Okay, that's fine. If you think of any more, please add them to the chat and we'll pause at the right moment. I just wanted to talk about when we need to do a bit more than just give somebody advice. So we do have a work-based assessment service. And traditionally that means that one of our advisors or one of our specialists goes to visit a workplace. We might talk about equipment, software, any adjustments that are needed. That could be physical adjustments, for example. And it's an assessment of this type is really useful. Someone's just starting to work, or you've come across a specific obstacle. Sometimes just identifying that someone might need a certain piece of equipment or some training in using that equipment. You may remember looking at the video when Mel was using her PC. She was using slightly non-standard software, but doesn't need a lot of training. But sometimes someone needs a bit of help just to get to know the ins and outs of the software they're using. So yeah, that is an option. That's a kind of specialist add-on that we offer to employers, and they're usually, everything we do is free, but when we do a big job like that, we ask for some money to cover the time because we're taking someone away from working with customers in another area to do that work. But this isn't a sales pitch. I'd just like you to know that work-based assessments are something we offer. Also, assessments are normally provided by Access to Work, part of DWP. And they're invaluable, particularly for small or medium-sized businesses, because the individual requests an assessment and that's facilitated by the employer. The follow-on from that is if someone needs to spend a bit of money on software or equipment, then Access to Work can either fund it all or fund part of it, depending on the circumstances of the employer and the individual. So yeah, there's advice there. Specifically, some that comes attached to funding and others that we do more separately when people need it. So that is our work-based assessment service, which is part of our overall approach to retaining people. I want to talk about the dreaded risk assessment now, because risk assessments in a workplace where there's someone with sight loss doesn't actually have to be difficult, but it can be very daunting for someone who's never dealt with sight loss before and they have to consider risks. it's very easy just to overestimate a risk or make assumptions about what blind or partially sighted people can do. And there can be difficulties there. It's not everyone has to be wrapped up in cotton wool. And we find that often those kind of risk assessments can be quite challenging for the individuals that are concerned. We know that risks can be managed successfully, both through our own practice, but also from working with employers. We don't go out and do risk assessments for employers because we know it's their responsibility, but we do guide them so that people can reach informed decisions and avoid any unnecessary barriers. We often get employers direct coming to RNIB saying, I've got a worry about this work situation, how do I deal with it? Often we get questions about lighting or using stairs or trip hazards, using computers and other machinery, mobility, guide dogs in the workplace. And more so at the moment because of COVID, people who are working from home when they would normally be working somewhere else. There are always concerns about emergency evacuations. Our job is to advise in that situation, to tell people there's a right way or wrong way to do things. But there is guidance on our website. It's got a snappy title like Guidance for Risk Assessors of Blind and Partially Sighted People, very catchy. But that is there, and we'll talk to employers who have got any concerns about this. Similarly, we talk to employees who feel that risk assessments have been done without their input or made bigger assumptions about what's going on. We do have the added complication, as I mentioned there, of COVID, and we have put some guidance on our website about when people are returning to work and risk assessments are being carried out. The consultations need to be done properly, and there's particular areas that employers need to think about. So that is on our website if you care to have a look. But I'm now reaching the point where I think we should jump to our third and final video, which is we put together as very briefly, about a minute and a half, for employers, top tips for supporting the safe return of employees with sight loss. So Helen, hopefully I can hand over to you now for this.
As lockdown begins to ease, RNIB employment advisors are sharing top tips on how to support employees with sight loss as they start to return to the workplace.
Ensure any temporary signage is in size 14 font at least. And using tactile floor markers can help indicate one-way systems or boundaries. Adding coloured tape around the edge of protective screens will improve their contrast and visibility. Make sure everyone is informed about any changes you have made to the workplace.
To keep everyone safe, ensure that your blind and partially sighted employees know where they can sanitise their hands or equipment that you're using. Don't assume that everyone knows. You may wish to purchase hand sanitiser that comes in coloured or opaque packaging to make it more visible.
Employees with sight loss will find it difficult to maintain social distancing, so try and support them where you can. This could include encouraging the rest of your workforce to be more aware of each other. The onus is on sighted staff to keep an appropriate distance from colleagues who are blind or partially sighted.
Providing up-to-date information about any new measures is key, but above all else, make sure to speak to your staff. Your employees with sight loss are best placed to describe how they see and what will be best to help them.
Just ask. To find out more about how you can support your employees, call us on 0303 123 9999 or visit our website rnib.org.uk/professionals.
Standing with you through every challenge. RNIB. See differently.
Okay, I'm going to just pop back to our presentation now. I wonder if this is a good time to pause and ask if anyone has any questions at this point.
We don't have any questions in the chat at the moment, but we could give everyone a moment or two to see if anyone has a specific question they would like to ask. Okay, nothing's come in at the moment. They may be saving their questions for the end. And
okay, that's fine. That's fine.
We do have comments around the videos being very informative and helpful. And of course, we will be sharing the recording of this session via the YouTube channel So you will be able to revisit them if you wanted to gather some information from them. And I believe these are all available via the YouTube channel for RNIB as well, aren't they, Andy?
That's right, yes, that's right. Okay, then just in terms of our resources now, because I realise that you as professionals will be working with individuals. You may come across someone who's in a job and is a bit concerned or worried about how they're going to continue to do the job, or you may be talking to employers who want a bit of advice. Most of our advice is available online. So our website, which is rnib.org.uk, has sections there aimed at professionals, which we just heard at the end of the last video, and also a section for businesses on services we can offer them. So if you need any further information, then yeah, have a look online. We do have a range of fact sheets as well to cover things like recruitment, technology, and how to get the best out of DWP's Access to Work programme, or how you can support your colleague with sight loss to stay in work. And we all work busy lives and have different working patterns, so our feeling is it's better to just be upfront and have all that information there and available at any time. The Let's Work Together pack that we mentioned in a previous video is also there, and that is designed for an employer to be able to work with an individual and kind of work the best way of keeping people in jobs. Work-based assessments we heard of. We can do that for employers when they're looking for quite detailed and specific advice. E-learning, yes, e-learning. Now, many of you, I think, will have seen our e-learning for employment professionals, which has reached almost 2,000 people now since we launched it. We are working on a separate package for employers. So rather than in times gone by, we would have had to book a session for 20 people to turn up and someone from RNIB will come along and talk about sight loss. We want to give that away to employers, so they'll be able to do that in their own time when it suits them, and it'll run through the issues and the support that's available for them. I don't have a launch date for that one as yet, but it will be well publicised when it does happen. I imagine it'll be another couple of months away. So that e-learning course will be there for employers and anyone who works within a company to raise their awareness and make them feel more confident. So that's a mixture of what we have online now and what we have coming up. And I have reached closing comments. Just worth mentioning that all of our services are accessed through our RNIB helpline. The number's on here, 0303 123 9999, or by email at helpline@rnib.org.uk. Oh, didn't mean that, sorry. I've reached the end of the slides, perhaps a bit ahead of schedule, so it does leave us time for discussion. If anyone has any questions or anything they'd like to raise, now is the time, so please feel free.
Excellent, great. So I have a comment here or a question from Adriana. And Adriana, I'm not sure where you work, so perhaps you can pop that in the chat for us. But she's asked, could you share any tips and tricks to utilise when inviting employers to become guest speakers? The barrier I have identified is they really need a tangible of what's in it for them. Yeah, you're right. The e-learning that we're working on just now for employers was quite frustrating because we used some video clips in that, and we wanted to really give employers a voice, and we found it very hard. Although people would say they were interested in coming forward and being a speaker, if you like to use that phrase loosely, it was hard to really get them to commit. So in the Let's Work Together video, we worked with Marriott Hotel Group, and I think that was just as a result of building up a working relationship over time. You know, if we support employers and they learn to trust us, it becomes a bit easier to then ask them to be speakers. And I think it is a good point. There has to be something very tangible about, you know, what am I getting out of this?
And apologies if we have any background noise here. Hope it's not too bad.
No, we can't hear it. It's fine.
Okay, it seems someone is demolishing a building nearby. Yeah, I think there's always a fear from an employer that if I put my head above the parapet and say what a brilliant employer I am, I'm waiting to be shot down by someone proving me wrong. So yeah, perhaps just use your existing relationships and be clear on what it is we're asking them to commit to.
And we've had a further comment from Adriana. Thank you for that. She's at FedCap and she says, you know, they do work on building relationships with key employers where work is available. And there's this aim of making jobs more accessible for people searching for work. People relate more when they hear directly from the employer. So hence the question, slightly on a slightly different, the same theme, but a sort of different context. Obviously, I do a lot of work engaging with people like yourself, Andy, to come and deliver these sort of webinars, and often with people who delivering webinars or public speaking isn't really their thing, but they're subject matter experts in that area. And I found sort of, if you can talk people through, this is the support I will give you, or I can do as much of the heavy lifting as you need me and be alongside you to help you with the delivery of the information. Employers or partner organisations, individuals within them find it easier to commit to doing things, because it is quite scary, isn't it, coming on to into a room full of people and standing up there and speaking to them. So I guess my tip or hint from that point of view would be, you know, to really outline the type of support that's there in order to allow them to come and speak and take part.
Yeah, good point, Helen.
Alberto has said, great topic. Are there some partnership organisations or charities that promote specific job opportunities for visually impaired people?
Yeah, again, that's an interesting question. We have some employers that run the discussion with just now who are very keen to, they see people with sight loss as being underrepresented in the workforces, and they're very keen to offer opportunities. Those kind of relationships take a bit of time to build up, and yeah, I'm sure at some point there will be advertised vacancies specifically looking for blind and partially sighted people, but that doesn't happen very often. I think the key to any organisation like RNIB, the key to our success is to work with other agencies. I mean, yeah, people who are represented in this group today will probably have a working relationship with, but maybe some of the organisations that aren't, so I don't want to pick any out to promote any, but websites like Even Break, for example, can be really useful because they advertise vacancies with disabled people in mind, and that can be a good starting point. Yeah, the occurrences of a vacancy who is for a blind or partially sighted persons are very rare. I think that from our perspective, we like to see our customers engaging with other services and therefore being able to access the same opportunities as everyone else. But it is a good point.
That's great, thank you. So Jake from Daruma Group says, most of the work we do involves getting unemployed, often long-term unemployed individuals back into work, many of whom suffer from disability or poor mental health. How would you engage with a prospective employer to encourage working with such people?
For us, it's the fear. I think if RNIB on our own wanted to engage with an employer to help a blind or partially sighted person into a job, I'm not sure it would be that successful. We don't have the capacity for those kind of activities that we used to have. I think there are experts in this room, there are experts who are members of IEP, and there are some extremely good organisations there that can help people into jobs. I see us as being in the role of adding on to say, yeah, okay, he's an employer who wants to engage with someone and give them a job. We are there to help with the real specifics about, well, how are they going to be able to use that computer? How is this person going to be able to travel as part of their job? And I see us as an add-on to that. So if you're helping someone find a job and you're successful, then please get in touch with us, because at that point we'd like to kind of, take people through the steps they need engaging with access to work, for example, dealing with mobility and technology. They're the things that we have the specialist knowledge, and I think we're a kind of value added when it comes to a service of that type.
Excellent. So really, and I know several people today, many people have either attended all of these Seeing Opportunity sessions or watched the recordings. Just having this knowledge that there is this support out there is a way of engaging with employers by being able to have that conversation and saying, you know, there are things in place, there's technology in place to support, there's organisations that can come in and support people as they join your workforce, will make employers feel more confident about opening up those opportunities.
Yes, yes.
Excellent, good, thank you very much. So those are all the questions we have at the moment. So I'm wondering if anyone else has got a question they would like to ask around employer engagement, or anything else to do that you think Andy on this topic might be able to help you with while we have this time. Now is your moment to pop that in the chat. But don't, you know, it's always pressure then for people to type as quickly as they can while we're just waiting to see if anyone has got any additional questions. I believe we do have another session planned. I've been speaking with Heather. We are going to be having another session in August. So please do keep your eyes out for that. That will come out to you all in the Learning Network e-bulletins that will be sent out every week on a Wednesday morning, as you will all know. Adriana says, are there any employers who are known for being inclusive from an ageism perspective? That's slightly different, isn't it, to a site?
Yeah. I'm going to say the easy answer to that one is no, but I'm trying to wriggle off the hook with that one, because we don't have like a disability confident standard for ageism in workplaces. I think though it's particularly relevant to us because as people age, there are more opportunities for people to have sight loss, and we're very much aware. I know that there have been projects in Scotland that have been addressing helping people to, let's say, towards the end of their working life. That includes me, I think. But specifically supporting people who are, for example, over 50 to try and keep them in jobs. And I'm sure that there have been employers involved in that particular project. So if it's happened in Scotland, it must have been replicated in other parts of the UK.
Okay. That's something we can look out for, thank you. And sort of in response to that, Adriana, we have been working, the IEP have been working recently, are in coming towards the end of a project of developing some e-learning around specifically employability support for older workers, so 50 pluses. And we're developing a suite of e-learning modules that will be released in the coming weeks. So watch this space and keep an eye out for that. But that e-learning is specifically focusing on age rather than the age-related sight loss and that combination. But yeah, there is something coming from the IEP and Centre for Ageing Better in the next few weeks, and by that I mean very soon rather than distantly in the future. So hopefully, she says, amazing news, thanks for sharing. Great. I probably should have waited until there was a big announcement, but you've asked, so you heard it here first, and don't tell marketing yet. So it's great. We are really excited about it. Okay, so we haven't got any more sight loss and employer engagement related questions coming at the moment.
Okay. Well, maybe I can just take the opportunity to thank everyone for joining us today, and thank Helen for dealing with all the nuts and bolts issues in the webinar today. So thanks very much.
Well, you are very welcome, and I managed to get the videos going without forgetting to put the volume on twice in a row. So that for me is always a win. For those of you who do deliver online stuff and have to remember to press those buttons, you'll know where I'm coming from with that. So we've got some, Jodie, thank you. It's been really useful and informative. Thank you for attending. It's a pleasure to have you all here. So thank you. This was I think it was our 66th Live Learn Lunch. I can't believe it. They're just flying by. It still feels like it was only yesterday I was nervously doing the first one. And we've got lots of thank yous coming in. Jake, Delida, Catherine, Daryl, lots. Sorry if I've missed anyone. For those of you who always like me to let them know what's coming next, next week we have the Good Employability Company, David, one of our IEP fellows, coming back to look at taking risks and doing good. What does the evidence tell us about who we help and who we harm? So a really interesting one there. So make sure if you haven't already subscribed or registered for that one that you do. The following week, we've got some firm favourites of the IEP Live Learn Lunch, Big Dog, Little Dog joining us. And they're going to be looking at employment and depression, why it sucks and what may help and what definitely won't help. So yeah, two really interesting ones, very diverse and very different ones coming up over the coming weeks. I've really loved today's session, so thank you, Andy, for that. Really interesting. For those of you who want to revisit the session, I will later on, hopefully later on this afternoon, if not tomorrow, be uploading this recording to the IEP YouTube channel. If you're not already subscribed, do pop over there and press subscribe. And what that means is whenever we record any of our sessions and upload it, you will get a notification. And it means if you can't join us on a Wednesday, you don't need to miss that learning. And also for those of you who are IEP members, don't forget you can pop into your membership account on the IEP website and record these sessions as CPD. So please make sure you're doing that. And then when you print off your annual CPD certificate, you'll have all those points on there. So it's great to have you here. So thanks again, Andy. Everybody go and enjoy the beautiful, when you finish work, I can't say go and enjoy it straight away. I'll get in trouble with all your bosses, but I hope you all enjoy the wonderful weather we're experiencing. And I really look forward to seeing you all on future sessions. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. Bye-bye. I'm going to stop that recording there. So thanks.